This is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and I just received a package from Asus. I believe this is going to be the new EPC. So EPC 1008 HA, which is also known as the seashell. Get that out of here. And there you go. So here's the box. Give you a little look around the sides of the box. Doesn't really look too much like a seashell if you ask me, but let's take a look and see how the computer itself looks when you open up the box. Now this is a review unit, which means that it's probably been handled by a couple of other people first. This might not be exactly what it looks like if you order a retail version. One thing I can say though, just picking it up here, very thin and light, especially compared with other netbooks that I've used from Asus. So there you go, nice glossy screen, which I know is not everybody's cup of tea. Very thin, I have to say. Let's see what else is in the box, and then we'll come back to that in a second. We've got support DVD, warranty card, and not much else really. Oh wait, no, there's a few more things hiding under here. As you'd expect, you've got a nice little power cable. Very small, very thin and light power cable also compared to other EPC netbooks. Now one of the first things you might notice here is no real access panels on the bottom. So replacing the RAM or hard drive is going to be a little bit more work on this model than some other netbooks, and even replacing the battery is going to be a lot harder. This model is designed to have a non-user replaceable battery, which means you actually have to send it in to have the battery replaced if it runs out. There is one item here that comes off, which is actually the VGA adapter. So that actually slides in here and comes out just when you need it, and I'll show you why you might need it in a minute. Assuming I can get this back in. There we go. Around the sides of the netbook, it almost looks like there's no ports at all, but instead what you actually have are a couple of little doors covering ports. And here, instead of a full-size VGA adapter, is a proprietary adapter that you plug that little guy into. You've just got a USB port there. And on the other side, you have a SD card slot, and another USB port, and headphone and mic, and an Ethernet jack. And that's pretty much it for the ports. Now just to give you this idea of how this differs from previous netbooks from Asus, this is the EPC 1000H, and this is the 1000HE, or 1008 HA. So much thinner. And the screen opens behind the keyboard here, which also means that it sits much lower than its predecessor. And to give you an idea of what they look like, back to back here, you can see this screen is much thinner on this model, base doesn't sit up as high. Now, the battery life should be comparable on these because this is a 1000H. The newer 1000HE actually has a battery that's good for about 8 to 9 hours under some circumstances. This guy's really not going to last much more than 5 hours. So if you really need that extra oomph of battery life, you might want to stick with the 1008G, which is similar to this, has a different keyboard, different battery. But in terms of size and weight, it doesn't get much smaller and lighter right now than this EPC 1008 HA seashell. Also worth noting that the keyboard is a little bit different. The keys are wider. The trackpad has a nice textured surface feel to it, so it's kind of flush with the rest of the unit here, but because of the texture it's very easy to detect where it is. There's a single button though instead of two distinct buttons, which I don't really like that much, but I'm sure you can get used to it. and instead of having the quick start buttons as you have towards the top of the 1008 or 1000H and 1000HE, there's just a couple of buttons here for the wireless. Looks like one for turning off the trackpad and one for power. And that's it for now. We'll have more details coming up soon on Liliputing.